Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and I'm here to show you some fun things that you can do with the new Circle Chain Border Maker cartridge from Creative Memories. I love the Border Maker system. Hopefully you've seen some of my other videos using it, but I think this particular cartridge is one of the most versatile that we've had. I'm super excited to have it. I do think that this one is going to sell out. Most of our cartridges, they only project to have them available for 3 to 6 months. The most popular ones sell out faster. And this is one, if you're going to want it, and you are going to want it, I would get it sooner rather than later, because I can't promise that it'll be here. And especially once you see all the very cool things that you can do with it. Here's a little sneak peek on the table of the things I'm going to show you that we can do, plus a couple of others. So to use the Border Maker cartridges, you do of course need to use have the Border Maker system. If you're not familiar with the Border Maker system, it consists of the interchangeable cartridges, the cartridge holder, which has a little button in here that engages with the cartridge and gives you some lever action. You cannot use the cartridges without the system. And the paper guide. And this has a magnet strip to hold your paper in place, plus a tray that folds out, a positioning tray, so that you can align your paper exactly the right distance from the edge of the guide. You're going to flip that over when you're done. And what happens is these little teeth on the front of the cartridge line up with these grooves in the paper guide, so that when you're punching and you get these teeth lined up, you get a perfectly straight punched border every time. And it's just, it's the greatest. I love it so much. Okay, so to start, we're going to take the cartridge and put it into the cartridge holder. You always want to put the Creative Memories logo to the back. Make sure that the teeth and the opening are to the front. And once you've done it a couple of times, you're going to, of course, that's going to make sense. But sometimes people don't exactly know how to do it. So just remember that you want those teeth to be poking out of the front. It actually looks like a little monster face almost, doesn't it? 3 eyeballs and some teeth. All right, I'm going to be using some papers from the Happy Camper collection. I think this had some papers that had some really nice contrast. So hopefully those will be fun for us to work with today. And I'm going to start by just doing a regular straight border. This is the main thing that the Border Maker system is designed to do, is to punch you a straight border. So I'm going to flip open the paper tray, lift up the magnet strip, put my paper in, and you see I've lined it up with the edge of the paper tray. And I'm going to fold the magnet, so that's going to hold my paper in place. And then I'm going to fold this out of the way. And it snaps on the bottom. You want to make sure it's snapped in so that your paper guide will now sit level. On the cartridge holder, you'll see there's just a little bit of a little pokey out thing, a little line. And if you need this the first couple of times, you can take this line and line it up with these little nibs on the paper holder. If you have the old Border Maker system from Creative Memories that is gray and silver, it works exactly the same. I just think the new one is prettier with the blue. So I'm going to line this up. I can tell by feel. You'll tell soon. I'm going to line this up. Make sure that you've got it pressed all the way up against the edge so that it's straight. And I like to pull my cartridge out when I punch. Sometimes if you just slide it down like this, it can get tangled up. Sometimes it's fine. But there, without even any effort at all, we have our beautiful punched circle border. So this is basically like the main deal with the Border Maker system. This one actually leaves some cute little confetti. You got this that almost looks like little waves. You could use that. I love these little polka dots. I think there might be something fun that you could do with these polka dots. You could save them to use as flower centers or use as accents on your page. I'm not going to do that this time, just because I want to talk about creative uses for the circle chain and not how to use your scraps. Okay, so that's the first basic thing of using the circle chain. But another fun thing that you can do is you can weave a strip of paper or ribbon through that chain and get a totally different look. And so to do that, you need a piece of paper that's about 1/4 inch wide. You could go a little bit wider if you wanted to, but 1/4 inch just seems to be the right width for this. To cut a 1/4 inch strip on the Creative Memories trimmer, your cutting line is the line closest to the logo, and the far side of the mat strip is where the 1/4 inch measuring line is. So if you ever need to measure 1/4 inch, it's that far side of the line. So that's how I trimmed my paper to get that 1/4 inch strip. And then you can just weave it through. So for this one, I did over, under, you know, each one. This time I think I'm going to skip 2. So I'll go in 1, skip 2. And it's just going to give a different look. Plus it's faster for you guys watching on the video to not have to see me do every over, under. Skip 2. So you could do this however you want. You could go over 2, under 2. I might bring it out the end just. All right, so you see you get a different look, exact same technique. All I did was, oh, I went too far. I left a circle. Oh, actually, I kind of like it when you leave the whole circle. So, I mean, that's another thing that you could do is you could, you know, go over 2, under 2, so that you leave that circle. All right. Sorry, that wasn't part of my plan. I'm trying to not play too much. I'm trying to show you finished ideas and not me discovering fun, cool things, but I just discovered that fun, cool thing. So this is over 2, under 1, and I think it looks pretty neat. So play around with the weaving technique, and you can get lots of different looks. And of course, it's nice because you know, with this double-sided paper, you can turn it the other way and have a totally different look with the different colors. So that's just your single chain with a 1/4 inch strip woven through. All right, so the next thing I want to do, it's a technique. If you watched my video making the fish border with the honeycomb border maker cartridge, this is a very similar technique. That honeycomb border maker cartridge is sold out. It did sell out in less than 3 months, which is why I'm trying to get this video out to you soon before this one has a chance to sell out. Same technique. We're going to cut this one at 4 inches. On the honeycomb, we cut it at a different size, but for this one, we just want to cut it at 4 inches. I don't know if you can see that. I should have used a Sharpie. So we're cutting at 4 inches, and then we're going to fold it in half. And I think I'm going to fold it this way. I think it's easier for you guys to see the lighter side. So be as precise as you can. It's not the end of the world if it's not perfectly lined up straight, but makes it a little bit easier and a little better guarantee of success if you get it straight, which I did not. So good. I'll learn if I'm truly correct about my saying it doesn't matter. Then for this one, we're going to use the paper guide very differently. We are not going to line up the tray. We're going to instead use the magnet strip. So I want you to take the outside edge, the unfolded edge, and we're going to position it along the tray side of the magnet strip. And you're going to need some Post-it notes. You can reuse these for this technique. You don't have to have new Post-it notes. But I'm going to line up the edge of my paper right here along the outside edge of this magnet strip. Can you see that? How I'm just lining up the paper along the edge. And then I'm going to take my Post-it note. This Post-it note, the sticky section goes this way, across this way. If you have those full sticky Post-it notes, those would be great. But I want to do it sideways so that the sticky, part of the sticky is here on the paper and part of the sticky is here on the tray. And this is going to just keep your paper from sliding. This is also a technique you can use just with regular punching if your paper's too narrow. If you have a strip of paper that doesn't get caught in the on the magnet, you can use some Post-it notes, and then the magnet will hold on to the Post-it notes and keep it from scooting around. So we're going to close the magnet strip, which is now just holding on to those Post-it notes, fold the tray away. And it's a little bit more difficult to punch now because we're punching through 2 layers. But we're going to punch through. And if you can see, I'll hold it up in a minute. This is not giving us a complete circle on the outside edge, which is what we want. Okay, we want there to not be a complete circle because we want it to be joined in the middle. All right, so here's my regular circle border, and you can see that it's round, and this one kind of has that flat side at the fold, because then when we open it up, we get this really cool effect of the double circle with the diamond shape in the middle. Don't you just love that? I just think it's great. And it's similar, obviously, but a really dramatic look. I don't think you can fold it multiple times and punch it. That would probably not work. It would be too thick for you to punch through. But 2 of these, I think, makes a great, great border. So then you've got these extra little strips. You can definitely use these. I think this would be fun if you were doing a layered border. You have these extra strips. So don't throw those away, because you can use those for something else. All right, so there's our double border. You could, of course, weave the paper ribbon through that just in the same way. I think that would be fun. But I'm not going to do that today either. The next thing I wanted to show you is one of my favorite techniques, and we call it punching around a circle. So as you know, because you've just been watching, this border maker, the border maker punches a straight border. But we also have this great jumbo circle cutting piece for the custom cutting system, and I'm going to show you how to make this kind of wreath shape using these 2 tools. So I happen to have a cutting mat on my work surface, but you're going to need some kind of a self-healing mat. And of course, Creative Memories does have one that fits our pieces. If you've been around CM for a long time, you may have a smaller mat that's only 12 by 12 or even 10 by 12. Really want to encourage you to upgrade to the 13 by 13 mat, so you have a little bit of this space to work with. And then you have the ruler lines to help you make sure that things are centered. So we're going to use the jumbo circle, the red blade. We're going to go around the outside. All right, actually I cut a little crooked. I felt it sliding at one point, but that's not going to matter. We're going to be fine. Okay, so here's our circle, and then we're going to use just the cartridge section of the border maker. We don't need the paper guide right now. We're just going to use the cartridge side, and you're going to want to kind of get familiar with what your cartridge looks like underneath. Actually, I'm going to pop it out because it's easier to see. So if you look at this cartridge, you can see that where it aligns with itself when you're punching a regular straight border is these 2 little pieces on the end, these 2 little narrow sections on the end. So when you're punching around a circle, you're going to want to line those things up, and you have to do it visually. Oops. Put it in right side up. Okay, snap it in. So I'm going to punch my first piece, make sure that the paper's all the way in, and you don't, you're not punching off the edge. It's a little sometimes tricky with a circle. Punch through and line up. And so I'm looking through here on the bottom. You want to make sure that your paper, that the silver piece is on the paper, not going off the edge, but you're going to see that little corner right there. So punch through. You really do want to make sure that all your confetti comes out, because I learned the hard way that if you leave confetti in, it can cause this to jam. So every time, shake the little extra pieces out. So every time I'm looking for that little corner and being able to line up this piece of the punch with the piece next to it. And you do get this little weird kind of a pie shape. That's totally fine. Okay, come on out. This is the part where it gets a little tricky because the round circle edge kind of tends to get caught. So just make sure you don't have any extra paper in there. And we're just gonna punch all the way around. Make sure that you don't. All right, this one I got caught. I'm just gonna trim this little top outside edge because that's what's causing it to get stuck. Make sure that you don't go off the edge. It's hard sometimes with a circle. You might find yourself doing something like this. Okay, you want to make sure that when you're cutting, you're still sticking with that circle shape and turning around. And actually, when you have a little bit wider piece here, it's less likely to get jammed in the punch. So you can do this with most of our border cartridges and our border punches. I've done other videos showing that technique. But you kind of have to play around with them. Some of them work better than others, but this one works really well. I'm very, very excited about how this one turns out. Okay, so this one is going to line up on the end, hopefully, with the red blade on the outside. We're going to have to match both corners right here so that we get centered in between the two pieces. So I don't know if you can see in there. There's a little corner on this side and a little corner on that side, and that's going to make sure that it's centered right here in the middle. And here's our mostly finished circle. Does make a lot of confetti. All right, so this is what it looks like when it comes out of the punch. You got this extra outside edge and the little pie wedges, and you just need to take your microchip scissors and just kind of trim these down. I like to do a little point kind of going along the direction of the circles. Follow the curve of the circle that the wedge is attached to. Sometimes you might poke through on the other side too, and just trim those little pieces off. Okay, now through the magic of video editing, our circle is done. You can see that it's not quite perfect. Maybe you can't see. I can see that it's not quite perfect. Actually, I missed a little spot right here. Just because we're taking a straight punch and making it into a circle, right here it kind of didn't line up exactly right. So no one's going to notice that on your layout. If they do, that's a perfect place to put a little embellishment or a little journal box or something like that. But pretty much, by and large, it looks great. I mean, if I wouldn't have pointed that out to you, I don't think you would have noticed it. And so the cutting around, punching around a circle is just one of my very favorite techniques to do with our border maker system or the border punches. All right, but that's not all. I'm not going to sell you any Cutco knives or anything like that. There are a couple other fun things that you can do. One of them is if you wanted to do a frame around your whole page. The punch doesn't necessarily line up with itself. Like you can't punch around a square and have the pieces line up. I'll show you on this little extra piece right here. If I were to punch this at this end and then turn it first of all, it disconnects from the border. But if I were to turn it this way and try to punch again, it's gonna double cut, and you're not gonna end up with that cute look that you want. Although, you know, actually, that's not so bad. This edge kind of looks like little fish, doesn't it? That's not so bad. That ruins my little spiel that you can't cut that way. But when you cut all the way around, it's gonna separate your border strip. It's not going to stay attached. So if you want to have it stay attached and make a background, what you can do is take your paper. You're going to want a base paper to go underneath this, and then this is going to be the top paper that's going to be the main background. I'm going to cut 1 inch off on 2 sides so that I'm left with an 11 by 11 inch square. You could also do a 10 and a half inch square. I haven't played with it with other numbers, but I've played with it with 11. And then we're going to use our paper tray, and we're actually going to use this little bump out on the tray, which is on both sides, to kind of center our paper. So I want to line it up with the edge, and I'm just going to look here and here and get it as centered as I can. Okay, so I'm just leaving that little bump out right there and that little bump out right there. It's actually not quite centered, but you know what, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be fine. And then I'm gonna skip the first little section. I'm just gonna go to the second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we're gonna turn and go all the way around and do the same thing, lining it up with these 2 little marks. You can actually take a Sharpie or something and mark up your tray. I know several people that have done that, but I'm just, you know, I don't have a Sharpie handy. I'm a little bit lazy, so I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to punch, just eyeball it. I'm okay with things that aren't perfect. And we're going to go all the way around the square. And you can see that the border maker just makes it so fast because you don't have to manually line anything up. You just make sure those little teeth are in their groove and that you've got the 2 pieces pressed together, and you get this straight cut every time. It's why it's my favorite tool, I think, because it's just so easy and I don't have to think about what I'm doing. This one has a little thinking because I have to line it up with those 2 little edges, but all right, so I've finished punching. It's a little delicate because you have this little outside edge that has stayed on the page. Let's get a paper to put behind it as a background so you can see the full effect of what this is going to look like. There, doesn't that look nice? I really like this. It gives you that double matted look. You could actually, even on the back paper, cut out the middle section so you have that for something else, but let's move the confetti out of the way. So many fun things to do with this punch. You can do this smaller. You could do it around a picture. You just have to cut a little bit bigger than your picture. This is a 4 by 4 square, and what I did with this was I just didn't use the paper guide at all. So let's see, I'll do a 4 by 4 square. I got to figure out something to do with this because I'm kind of liking that. All right. And this time I'm not going to use the paper guide. I'm just going to eyeball it because you guys know that that's something I'm perfectly happy to do. And with a 4 by 4 square, it pretty much lines up on either side of this. You just center it, just kind of eyeball it, punch, turn, do the same thing. And it is going to punch the middle out, unlike this one where it stayed attached. If you were going to do like a 6-inch square, I don't know. I haven't played with those bigger sizes, but I think this would be cute for a little accent or a spot to do some journaling. So you end up with this little square. So put it on here. All right. So what we have is we have kind of a page frame. We have a small journal box. We have the punched around circle. We have the double circle, which is my favorite. We have the woven circles, the woven circle borders, and of course, just the plain, regular old circle border. All of those things with this one circle chain border maker cartridge. Definitely one of my favorites. I think it's going to be useful for so many layout styles, whether it's Christmas or baby or beach or high school or, you know, anything you can think of. I think this would work great. So I hope that this has given you some ideas. I hope that if you have the Border Maker system and you have this circle cartridge, you will play with some of these ideas. And if you don't have the Border Maker system, I hope that you will consider purchasing it. It is definitely one of my must-have tools for scrapbooking. All right, thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments, please post those down below. Sure appreciate all of you who subscribe to my channel, and you can always interact with me here in the comments or over on Facebook at Nicole's Scrapbooks is my Facebook page, or NicoleScrapbooks.com is my website. Thanks very much, and happy scrapbooking.